This, you're watching my grade 7 review for grade 8. So this will go over materials that will be used again from grade 7 as we move into grade 8. We're just going to do a little bit of review, do a little bit of quiz on that, and see how we're doing. So, uh, division is one of the hardest concepts, or at least one of the hardest core concepts to go over. You've covered this in elementary school and in grade 7, but it tends to repeat itself as one of the largest struggles kids have when they solve division, when they solve math questions. Division tends to catch people. So, what is division? Why is it so challenging? Well, division, in a nutshell, is when you break something up into smaller parts. That's it. And that doesn't sound hard, but when numbers start to get finicky and start to get big and kind of difficult, then division itself can become more challenging. So let's try and visualize some division here. So I have this square. Say I have this square, and I want to divide him into two parts. What that means is I'm trying to go, I want this square to be in two equal parts. So I'm going to cut this in half, like so, close enough. And we can see now this square has been divided into two. There are two parts. Now let's say I gave the square a value of 8. The whole square is 8, and then I divided the square by 2. What is the value of the top part and the bottom part? Well, it's still the square. It's just I have two parts of the whole square. So what that means is this part and this part should add up to 8. If it doesn't, you did something horribly wrong. So this should be 4, and this should be 4. 4 plus 4 is 8, so that adds up to the whole square. And 2 4s is the two groups that make 8. So dividing it by 2 does this. So let's say I want to divide it by 4. Okay. There we go. Well, I've now cut this square up into 4 smaller squares. Well, if this square was a value of 8, what is the value of each little square? Well, you should know 8 divided by 4 is 2. So this should be 2, this should be 2, this should be 2, and this should be 2. And so you can see that division is just breaking things up into nice smaller pieces. So let's take this square and divide them by 4. We showed you how to do this already. You take the line, there you go, and you draw, and that's the square divided by 4. Well, let's take the square again and divide it by 2, just like before. Just like before. You take it, you cut it in half. And if you divide it into 12, you make it into 12 equal pieces. Well, you can do that with numbers. Just like we did with shapes, we can divide numbers into smaller groups. So we did this before already. 8 divided by 4. Well, we have 8. We're trying to cut 8 up into 4 equal groups. Well, the number 2 is the number that, when in 4s, like 4 2s, will make 8. So 8 divided by 4 should equal 2, because 2 4 times is 8. So the 4 parts that make 8 is 2. Let's take a look at the other one. 6 divided by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2, because if I wanted to cut 6 up into 3 equal groups, each group must have a value of 2. If it was 2, 2, and 3, nope. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7. Too far. So you need to have and also when you divide, each group has to have the same value, right? So when you divide, you want all the groups to have the same value, and you want all the groups to add up to the larger number. So let's say you do division, and you get an answer, and you're not sure if you're right or wrong. Okay, well, there is a way you can check. And you take multiplication. So know your multiplication, because that can easily help you find whether or not you're right for division. So let's take a look at this. 6 divided by 3 is 2. We solved that before, but let's say I didn't know. Okay, I can take the 2 from the answer in our division and move them over here to this side. See that? Over there. I can take the 6 and put it on the answer side. Then I change the sign to multiplication. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. I'm not sure, but hopefully I do know that 2 times 3 is 6. Well, all the numbers are still the same, and it makes sense. 2 times 3 is 6. So 6 divided by 3 must be 2. So here's an example of where you can use this check, to see if you are correct. So let's say I did 36 divided by 7, and I got the answer 6. Okay, well, I'm not sure that this is the right answer. So I'll do that check. I take the 6, and I move them over here. So click, 6. Change the sign to multiplication, 7, and I put the number, the larger number, here. Is this true? Is 6 times 7 36? Now, I'm going to hold it for a second, think about it. Okay, good. Hopefully you said no. 6 times 7 is 42. So that must mean that 36 divided by 7 cannot equal 6, because 6 times 7 is 42, not 36. I had to put in a different number here to make this work. So what that means is this doesn't work, because I changed the numbers. Let's take a look at this guy. 42 divided by 7 is 6. Okay, let's take a look. We switch the numbers around. We go 6 times 7 equals 42. Now, in our previous example, we proved that 6 times 7 is 42. I didn't change any numbers. I didn't add a number. So that means that this equation proves this one right. 42 divided by 7 is, in fact, 6. So do these practice questions. They are relatively easy. Please try not to use a calculator. Just try and solve these ones on your own. They're just so that you can practice your basic division skills. So just give you a minute for that one, then we'll move on. So we know 27 divided by 9 is 3. That's the answer for that one. But what about 27 divided by 4? Well, sometimes a number is not easily divisible by another, and that's usually when you end up with a remainder. Right? And you've dealt with remainders before, so I'm not going to go over that too much, because we're really not going to go into the remainders in this year. So 27 divided by 4, does that work? Well, we can do the check, right? Question mark times, because I'm moving things over, times 4 equals 27. So something times 4 should equal 27. And if we can find that out, then we know what the question mark is over here. So 1 times 4, 4, too small. 2 times 4, 8, too small. 3 times 4, 12. 4 times 4, no. 5 times 4, 6 times 4, 7 times 4, and too far. So the problem with this is no number fits nicely into this equation that'll make it 27. You'll either go over or you'll fall short. So that's where the remainder comes in. So if I did 7, or if I did a different number, I would end up with a remainder left over. So how can you tell if a number is divisible by another? Well, there are some cheats you can do, some quick rules. That way you don't end up in a position where you have to check and solve the equation and then realize, oh, it doesn't work. You can follow these rules. How can you tell if a number is divided by 1? All numbers are divisible by 1. 1 divided by 1, 1. 2 divided by 1, 2. 3 divided by 1, 3. And so on and so forth. What it's saying is, I have 9, and I'm trying to cut 9 up into one part. Well, that's 9. Okay. 2. How can I tell if a number is divisible by 2? Any number that ends in 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8 can be divided by 2. So all I'm saying is even numbers are divisible by 2. I can just hit the keyboard. This number ended in 2. It could end in 0, 4, 6, or 8. And as long as that's true, you can divide it by 2. If the digits in the number add up to a number that can be divided by 3, then it's divisible by 3. What the heck does that mean? Well, let's take a look at the first example. 375. How do I know I can divide it by 3? Well, if I take the 3, the 7, the 5, not the 300, the 70, and the 5, just the number 3, 7, and 5, and I add them all up. Okay, well, that adds up to 18. Is 18 divisible by 3? Yes, it's 6. So then I know that 375 is divisible by 3 because when you add up 375, you get a number divisible by 3. That's weird, I know, but it does work. So let's take a look at this guy. 937. Okay, so let's add up the numbers. We have 7, we have 3, we add up 7 and 3, that's 10. And then we add up the 9. So 9 plus 3 plus 9 plus 7 plus 3 would give us 19. Is 19 divisible by 3? No, right? So then if 19 can't be divided by 3, then 937 cannot be divided by 3. That's it. Okay, 864. 8 plus 6 plus 4. 6 plus 4 is 10. 10 plus 8 is 18. Oh, it added up to 18 again. Well, 18 can be divided by 3. We just saw this in our example. So 864 can be divided by 3. So, bit of a side question. Can this number be divided by another number? Well, if you look right here, you see it ends in 4. Well, let's take a look at that previous rule. If a number ends in 4, it can be divided by 2. So this number can also be divided by 2 as well. So 2 and 3 are numbers that it can be divided by. And 1 as well, but you almost never divide anything by 1. That's like just running around in circles. So we now know that this number can be divided by 2 and 3. 579. Well, does this number divide into 3? Well, we know 7 plus 9 is 16, and plus 5 is 21. So is 21 divided by 3? Yes, right? So these numbers can be divided by 3 because their individual digits that make them up can add up to a number that divided by 3. And that's tricky. I recommend spending some time to look in these divisibility rules because they're an easy way, once you get them, they're an easy way to look at a number and just go, yes, this number works. If you can divide a number by 2 times, it's divisible by 4. So what that means is, let's say I divide 104 by 2. That's 52. Awesome. Can I divide it by 2 again? You don't even have to know what the answer is. Just look at this number. Is it divisible by 2? Yeah. So you can divide it by 2 again. So then I know that it is divisible by 4 because I divided by 2 twice. 72, same thing. 542, let's take a look at that. Well, if you have trouble dividing by 2, you can just go, well, what's half of 500? 250. What's half of 40? 20. So 250 plus 40 is 270. Okay, half of 2 is 1. 271. So 271 is when you divide 542 by 2 once. Can I divide it by 2 again? No, because it ends in 1. Again, the rule for divisibility is has to end in 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. So because I can't divide it by 2 times, it's not divisible by 4, but it is divisible by 2. 5's crazy easy. If it ends in 5 and it ends in 0 or it ends in 0, then you can divide it by 5. That's it. If a number can be divided by 2 and 3, it can be divided by 6. So what that means is if you look at 48, can I divide 48 by 2? It ends in 8, so yeah, I can. I don't even have to know. I just see it ends in an even number. Can it be divided by 3? Well, 8 plus 4 is 12. Is 12 divided by 3? Yeah. So 2 and 3 both divide into 48. That means 6 divides into it. Same with any of these numbers if you check them. 7, there's no real rule to it. You just kind of have to figure it out, so hopefully you don't run into divided by 7. 8, there is a rule, but it is complicated and unnecessary. So we'll go to 9. If you can divide a number by 3 2 times, it's divisible by 9. So 81 divided by 3, and then divide by 3 again. It works. So then it's divisible by 9. That's it. And that works for any of these other numbers. Again, to find out if a number is divisible by 9, you just go, okay, well, what's 81 divided by 3? Well, 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 is divisible by 3, so I can divide 81 by 3. And that answer I can divide into 3 again. So please practice division. No multiplication, no addition, subtraction. They just show up. You're going to be adding fractions and dividing fractions and doing these things, and knowing how these rules work will make your life so much easier. Thank you for listening. See you at the next lesson.